Hey guys, it's Mark again from Christ-Centered Fitness. I want to take a few minutes to talk to you today just quickly about carbohydrates, otherwise known as carbs. So a carbohydrate is basically just a sugar or a starch or even a fiber that is contained in food that we would typically eat. And a lot of people define carbohydrates primarily as just, potatoes and rice and bread, for example. But those aren't the only examples of carbohydrates. So fruit, of course, is a carbohydrate as well. You'll find carbohydrates in things like yogurt, although they also often contain fat and protein. But carbohydrates are also found in things like that. We'll also find carbohydrates in vegetables, of all things. So intermittently, I'll run into someone, they're like, I've cut out all carbs while sitting there eating a bowl full of vegetables. And obviously I'm nitpicking here, and there's clearly fewer carbs in a bowl of vegetables than there is in a bowl of pasta, but those are still technically carbohydrates. In any case, the big question is, does consuming less carbohydrates help to, lose body weight as a means to be a good steward of our body? And the answer to that question is, well, yes, it can. If the reduction in carbohydrates results in a decrease in your total amount of calories you consume. In other words, if you're consuming fewer carbohydrates, but you replace that with 80 pounds of cheese, well, you're not going to lose any body weight as a result of that because you're just replacing those calories with something else. So the primary reason why people drop body weight when they reduce carbohydrates isn't specifically because they're carbohydrates per se, it's just because they're consuming fewer calories. And also with carbohydrates, we often store water, so we might lose a little bit of water weight, and it'll give us that sort of initial kickstart to get people excited. Long term, we don't really see great adherence in the research in really any group specifically. Like when you look at the long-term research, it doesn't look as though being low carb is any better than not being low carb in terms of weight loss. So I guess what I want to say is that low carbs or eating lower in carbohydrates isn't necessarily a bad thing, but it's not necessarily productive or required in order to lose weight effectively. The big picture here is that calories drive weight. In other words, calories are the currency of weight management, and if you want to reduce your carbohydrates, if that helps you moderate your appetite, that's an option. But just consider that that's not the only option. There are definitely other ways to help manage it, and you have to find ultimately the balance between calories and protein and fat that is best for you. But the overarching theme is your calorie intake. Now, I just kind of want to add to all this at the end that if you are diabetic, for example, or you suffer from something like polycystic ovarian syndrome or PCOS, there might be specific reasons why you would eat fewer carbohydrates or eat carbohydrates at different times of the day. There are some benefits for people with polycystic ovarian syndrome to consume fewer carbs and a little bit more protein. But outside of very special conditions, really there isn't a necessity for people to consume fewer carbs to lose weight. So that's what I want to say about that. If you liked the video, hit like below, please. Drop me a comment. Let me know what you guys want to know. Otherwise, I'm just going off the top of my head and trying to guess what you guys might want to know. Thanks a lot, guys. I appreciate you. Have a good one.